What's up guys, LyonLife here. Welcome back to another Atelier Resleriana video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Alchemist of Salzburg brand new event that's here in the game, just released today. With this event, we're going to be getting two new characters, of course. We're going to be taking a look at Lily and Ellie. Lily, who is a bolt breaker, and Ellie, who is a wind element or air, however you want to say it, supporter. Now, we'll get into the characters for the event a little later. We got a lot to say about them. I'll leave it at that, but a lot to say for them. But primarily, this is going to be a brand new event that we're going to be getting. As you guys can probably have already noticed already, this is a brand new event that's a little bit different than what we had last time around for the Sophie and for the Valeria and Claudia event. For this event, we're actually going to have an event story, and going forward, we're going to consistently see this happen with all the new banners and new characters. We're going to be getting a story alongside it, in which we're also going to have an exchange shop down here at the bottom for different materials. So it'll work the exact same way. You'll run through the story missions, and then you'll go to the actual battle section where you're going to be doing all the fights. It works the same exact way as the Sophie battles went. You're going to go all the way up from floor 1 or floor 1, stage 1, however you want to say it, all the way up until the very end. And at the same time, you're going to be gathering materials and currency in order to use here in the exchange shop for these items that are right here, which I'm glad this is the event where we finally got the better shop, because the one with Sophie, which is not good at all. This one at least gives us a little bit more range of materials and items to use that we actually are going to be using consistently while playing the game. So that's nice to see there. Now, the first thing that I want to get into is going to be the event itself. We'll talk about the event, and then we're going to get into the characters and their kits going forward. For the event, we now have the introduction of event items or recipes for synthesis. Now, this is going to be a permanent staple that we're going to see. As you guys know already in the game, we already have the event tab, which is going to be down here in the recipe section. Obviously it's locked, so I haven't unlocked anything yet because I haven't done the event yet, so but that's pending. But yeah, you'll see that this will be where we'll get to look at all of the event equipment and items that we're going to be getting going forward for all the events in the game. And like I said, so it'll be a resource that you could take a look at, and the best thing is they're not limited. They don't go away. As long as you unlock it, you get to keep it and make it as many times as you'd like, assuming you have the materials to do so, right? So let's go ahead and get into the equipment. We'll go through all of it here, and I'll kind of give my own thoughts and feelings for what everything is, what it does, etc., and kind of go from there. So the first piece of equipment we're going to take a look at is the steel staff. Now, this staff right here, it says while equipped to a supporter, it's going to boost the potency of buff effects given by 7 to 10%, which isn't bad. Nice little buff. It's definitely probably one of the better items that we're going to have for supporters. So this is going to be something you're probably going to want to craft a bunch of just to get the best effects you possibly can. Now, while this weapon is technically made for Ellie because of the event and whatnot, this is also going to be a weapon that you probably want to use on like your Lightning Resna for her crit buff, or even down the line when we get Liddy a little bit later. This is going to be one of those items you probably definitely want to keep on your supporters. So the good thing is, because of the event, you're going to be able to make a whole bunch of these, and of course you're going to have some duds. So you'll be able to make so many of them to exchange for the points in the shop that you can use, but also you're going to get some good ones down the line because you're going to craft a crap ton of all the items for the event itself. Now, the staff, outside of the buff effect, it gives physical and magical attack, nothing crazy there. Just 20 and 45 magic attack. Obviously, the only thing that really mostly matters in this case is the magic attack, because it's only going to end up going to a magic class character anyway, or magic attributed character. So there's that. But like I said, this is going to be one of those staffs you're going to probably use long term. So I definitely would recommend putting in the effort to craft as many of these as you possibly can, just to get the best stats possible for whatever character you want to put it on. Next, we got the Mimir staff. This says while equipped to a character with a bolt affinity, it's going to boost stun damage by 7 to 10%. So in this case, it's very, very niche. It's primarily going to be for a bolt character. So as you guys obviously know, for Lily, she is a bolt, our first bolt breaker that we're going to have. So it's guaranteed, it's geared for her, but the effect itself is pretty meh. But like I said, it's still pretty niche. It's only going to be mostly used for a bolt character, which we don't have a lot of as far as that are breakers besides Lily at the moment. So it doesn't really have much of a use. So it's really not going to be something you probably want to craft a lot of. of, unless you're just trying to really make a good one for Lily. Maybe that might be something you want to look into, I don't know, but we'll get into that down the line. This one as well has the same exact stats for physical and magical stats attached to it. 20 physical attack in it at the most, you're gonna be able to get 45 magic attack on it, so there's that. Next, we're going to have the steel armor, which is, let's be real, this is going to probably be the waste of materials if you're looking to make this. Maybe make it one time for the one time if you just really want to, but the effect on it is pretty mediocre, doesn't really do anything too crazy. It's not really worth it in my opinion. It says, while equipped to a supporter, it's going to boost slash, strike, and stab resistance by 3 to 4%. Baby, that 3 to 4%, you might as well keep it. Because what is that really doing? It's not doing much, you know. That 3 to 4%, it ain't doing nothing for you. And the fact that it's geared just for a supporter, there's better equipment that we currently have for supporters. There's no reason for you to want to make this for a support character at all. It's got physical and magical defense stats on it, you know, whatever. But like I said, do not make this. Do not make a lot of these if you just don't have armor, which you should. But sure, make it, but it is not worth it by any means. In my opinion, do not waste your materials on making this item. So next we've got the silky outfit. This says, while equipped to a character with a bolt affinity, it's going to boost status effect resistances by 17 to 24%. Honestly, pretty good. It's obviously geared towards a niche, towards a bolt character in general. This is probably one of those items you're probably going to be interchanging on a bolt character. So if you're on a stage that's going to be giving you a lot of status effects, like maybe like poison or paralysis and such as that, this might be something you want to add on to your bolt affinity characters. But like, it's definitely shoot to probably try to make one of the better ones just so you have it on hand. Maybe make 1 or 2, maybe even 3. You know, if you're really feeling it. Again, you're going to be getting a lot of materials from the event anyway from running it, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to try to make the best one that you possibly can, just to have it if you ever need it in the future going forward. This one also is going to have physical and magic defense as well. Same thing, 20 physical defense and up to 45 magical defense. Next, we have the perfume accessory, which again, a dud. Another one of those items that you're probably not going to really need or want necessarily, but if you want to just make one for the sake of making one, sure. It says, while equipped to a supporter, it's going to boost fire, ice, and bolt and air resistances by 3 to 4%. Again, this effect in general you can get, if not better, from other items or other equipment, and it's just not worth it. Don't waste your materials on making these guys. If you really just want to make it, even if you're just needing the stat boost, even like 4 speed, like that's cute and all, but it's not doing much for you. You know, 4 speed and up to 135 extra HP, like you're good. You don't need this by any means, but you know, that's what it is, that's what it does. If you just feel like you want to make it for the sake of making it, you can. But again, you're not going to lose the recipes for these. They're going to always be there. But my recommendation is to not waste your materials on making this item. Now, the best thing out of the event that's going to come is this Serenity Scarf right here. This is going to be a really good piece of equipment for breakers altogether. It's going to boost stun damage by 6 to 8%. Now, while that 6 to 8% necessarily might not be super duper large, but in general, this is a piece of equipment that can go to anyone. It's not limited by an affinity or a damage type or anything like that. It's for your breakers as a whole. So out of the event, if anything, if you make anything, and we know down the line we're going to need breakers for the affinity tower and such, when that becomes something that people get to as far as like end game, your breakers are going to be very, very important. You're going to need your breakers to be breaking enemies within that first turn. Items like these are going to definitely be essential. Going as far as with some other stats as well too, not just the effect. Obviously, the 6 to 8%, while it's good, it can be better with different item traits as well too attached to it. So this is something that I suggest everyone make a couple of them. Make some good ones if you can with whatever materials that you definitely have. But this is going to be one of those items out of the event you're probably going to make often and make plenty of. So definitely recommend to make this. So out of the bunch, you're probably just going to want to make, in my opinion, the steel staff, the silky dress if you really want it, just to have it on hand for later on, and as well as the serenity scarf. Those are the 3 items on this list as far as the event items go that are probably worth your time and worth making plenty of to get the best ones possible. Everything else is either pretty niche or doesn't give you an effect that's worth your time. While I understand having the extra stun damage for thunder affinity characters, which is cool and all, but there's no thunder characters that are so prominent right now, or even in the late game when we get more characters that are gonna be so good that you need this, and we're gonna have better items for them specifically, or better weapons I should say, down the line. This armor, complete trash. There's so much better that you could give to your supporters as far as in terms of armor, so this isn't going to give you anything special that you need. And when it comes to the perfume, same thing. While it's nice to have a little bit of extra resistance to statuses, that, what was it, 3 to 4% is what it gave. That's not doing you nothing. That's not doing you no good. So again, other items, other accessories that do the same thing, if not better, down the line, or some that we already have currently. Don't waste your time on making that. If you want to know where to put your materials at when you're running the event, serenity scarf, silky dress, and the steel staff. That's my recommendation for what you should be making or looking, or actively trying to make more of to get the best versions you possibly can for the current event in the game now. And so finally, what I want to go over to with my least favorite subject for this event is the characters. If we're being honest, I would say these aren't even worth buying the tickets with your gems, even though they're basically half priced and you get those extra pulls out of it. I don't believe the 2 characters, definitely not Ellie, we'll get into that, but the characters as a whole are just not worth you spending the gems. You're better off saving them down the line for the other characters that we know are coming that are going to be way better down, here in the future. But first, we're going to be taking a look at Lily. Now, Lily, as I said, is going to be our Thunder Breaker, which is great. We don't have a Thunder Breaker, so it's going to be a new element that we can add to our repertoire of characters. If you ever need the Thunder affinity for a certain stage or whatever, or what have you. The problem is she doesn't do anything miraculous that you just can't get out of your other area breakers, like even Plocta, or even better Marie, or even Shalistera, the Windbreaker. She's also really good too as well. We already have options just to still get AoE break in somewhere, and while the only extra reason why she's even worth it in some case, and I say worth it very loosely, I don't recommend pulling for her, but is simply because we don't have another Thunder Breaker that's AoE, and we're not getting another Thunder Breaker for quite a while anyway, so because that's gonna be months down the line. So for that reason alone, it's not bad to have her if you get her for free, but don't waste the gems trying to pull for her, in my opinion. Even her gifts, they're okay. You're gonna get increased air damage, so if you want to use her abilities to put on a unit that's air affinity for either their skill damage, whatever, but the argument could just be made that you could just give them skill damage and that would solve your problem there, so you really wouldn't need those blessings whatsoever. And the chaser one is gonna end up giving you more stun damage. Again, other ways to get that. Her speed is pretty middle of the ground. She's not super fast. Even with her skills here, they're okay, right? So her skill 1, it says after attacking, it's going to boost your own stun damage by 40%. So she's got like a combo with her abilities. You want to start with her skill 1, and then you want to go into her skill 2 called Mistle Bend, which is going to be after attacking, it's going to boost the target's damage received by 5% for an up to about 15% max. So even just the first hit is only 5%, which isn't too great. It's okay, but it's nothing crazy. That's not really where your damage is going to come from. You're going to obviously get more damage from it because you used Thunderbolt first and then went into her skill 2, but the wait time to get there to use this is going to be pretty meh. And her power overall is okay, but look at the break damage, right? You want your breakers to be breaking. That's their whole point. So her break damage is still pretty low on this, because this is only going to affect her power, like the skill damage. So while the power is nice, it's going to give a boost to that. If she's not breaking, what's the point? that's her whole role. You know what I mean? So when you look at this for your other breakers like Sally or Marie, whoever, they're able to break characters on their first turn. If you plan ahead of time and if you're able to manipulate it so that it works out that way. But for her, she's got to try a little harder to do that. To do just that, she's got to work a little harder, and I just don't think that's really worth it. And then when you look at her burst, her ultimate ability, it says after attacking, there's a very high chance of inflicting the target with paralysis at the start of the turn for 2 turns. The problem is this is an area break, and you might be thinking, yeah, that's cool, you know, she gets her ability is an area break, but if you're going to be I highly doubt you're using your breakers for their burst half the time, but if you are, you probably want to primarily use it on a single target. That's usually where the breakers pretty much shine, is with their ult abilities when they're primarily targeting a single enemy, like a boss enemy, whoever, because it's probably going to guarantee you a break. With an area break, you're not guaranteeing yourself that you're going to break anybody, which is, it'd be nice if you did. You'll probably break some add-ons maybe, but like probably the main person that's giving you a hard time, you're not probably breaking them with an area break. That's just how that is, just how it works. So, you know, people like Marie and Sally and all of them who have those, or Raze, who have those single target ults, you know, those are going to work better in your favor. Which really sucks. Like I said, it's really it sucks that even though she's a breaker and it's a new element that we don't have, it would be nice to have her for the sake of having her for collection purposes, or if you just want the niche of Thunder and or Bolt, my bad, and just being able to break enemies that way, you could. And she's not going to be bad at it. She's just not going to be great. She's not going to be as good as she could be. She's not better than any of the characters that we already have, and that's why I recommend not wasting your gems on tickets or anything like that. Just try to get her for free if you can with the free pulls we're gonna have for quite a bit until the next banners roll around, if at all possible. But that's what I would do. That's Lily. Let's move on to Ellie, who is not the best. All right, and so lastly, let's get into Little Miss Ellie. And I think I've mentioned it before, like in some streams and such, over on Twitch, but Ellie is probably one of, if not the most useless character that we're going to get in the game, at least as of now. Her kit is just not great by any means. Of course, we'll get into it here in a second. Looking at her gifts, she's got Strike Curse, all recovery bonus, and recovery boost, so those are okay. Those aren't bad. Those will help for sure. Strike Curse, pretty meh, whatever, you can get it from items. When you look at her speed, I believe she is probably in the lower tier of speed characters, so she's not fast by any means. She's gonna probably usually be going last typically anyway, no matter how you build her. But a lot of what the issue with Ellie comes with her kit. So let's look at this here. For her first skill, she's gonna boost all allies stun damage, so for your breakers primarily between 2 and 10%, depending on the number of enemies for 1 turn. You're gonna get a higher boost for more enemies, but only up to 4. Now, this is okay in theory, and it would work better if she was faster, right? So just keep that note, like this would work better if she was faster. Her skill 2, she's going to boost the magic attack by 8 to 12% for 2 turns, and also boost your magic defense by the same for 2 attacks, and restores a little bit of health. So this is like her supportive ability. It's an area effect. It's gonna give your characters 8 to 12%, a max of 12% magic attack and magic defense, and a mediocre BS 5% heal, right? For the character that also has this is Lightning Resna. So if you already know, this heal, this flat 5%, is not made for sustaining anybody. Sorry, I couldn't say the word. It's not meant for sustaining anyone. It's just a flat, regular heal that is not great. It's just a small amount. You're probably not healing more than 100. It doesn't even scale off of anything from what we can tell here, so it's just going to be a flat rated heal of not worth your time. This isn't, again, she's a supporter, but she's not really supporting in the ways you need her to. You know, she's not carrying the team. She's not keeping people alive with this measly 5% at all. So there's that. The worst part about this, if you've seen this, her skill 2, the wait time on this, so even if you buff your characters, the wait time on this is 275. That is horrendous. With this alone, on top of the fact that she's already slow, Ellie's pretty much guaranteed to always be last, right? So how are you going to buff your breakers and give them extra stun damage when you're 90% of the time, if not 100%, you're never going to go first? So how are you, or go before them in general, you know? So how are you going to be able to buff the characters you're meant to buff if they're always going to be attacking before you do, or getting a turn before you do? That doesn't make any sense. Like, why this is set up this way and why it was never adjusted, I have no idea. They've just kept her this way. Like, they really did Ellie dirty, and I really hate that for her. I truly do. But because of it, because she's so slow, because of her wait time on her skill, on the main one that really matters, on top of the fact with that should be doing more than anything else, you can't really use it. You can't utilize it at all. And then even looking at her burst, even her burst is still pretty meh. It's gonna, after attacking, it restores 50% of the item gauge. Like, that's cute, that's fine, but you're never dependent on the item gauge needing to be filled, right? So primarily when you're in battles, you're manipulating the timeline with items for bursts. That's when you want to use your items. We want to utilize using your items in order to progress a burst for your DPS characters or whoever else you're wanting to use it on. But that's what you primarily want to set up your item usage for. So you're setting it up for a burst for your DPS, breakers, whoever. And if you're primarily using Ellie or trying to use a character because you want to have less wait time on your item gauge, that doesn't make any sense, because you're only using the items for one thing typically. But if you're using your items to sustain yourself, that's not going to do you any good long term, because items have a usage limit. You know, we have 3 usages on healing items, 2 on battle items, etc. So it doesn't really make sense. And by the time even if you were to use this, you're not going to have the time to get another burst skill out, because your burst is going to be farther down the line before you even get to use your items. Whereas without using this burst, you would get enough build in your item gauge to then set up another burst for your character that way, because that burst isn't going to come around as much or as quickly as it would by getting this item gauge up by an extra 50%, if that makes sense. You're gonna have enough turns to get your item gauge up regularly without needing a buff towards it. And again, you're using it to utilize getting extra damage or whatever on your on other characters who you primarily need to give them a burst to finish off enemies or whatever, or what have you. So her having this, maybe if it was her skill 2, that might be a little better. It might give her a little more utility if that was the case. But like I said, they really dropped the ball on her, and I hate that for her. But she just becomes useless. There's no place for her in any teams or any comps. She doesn't shine at anything because part of her kit she's too slow for to even utilize it. And on top of that, her ult doesn't do you any good, because the way you should be using or utilizing your item gauge for in the game, the way the game plays out, even in end game, the way you utilize your item gauge, while there could be an argument that if you're using it to sustain yourself, if you're using it for healing items, you're just going to run out of healing items before you really get a chance to utilize this. So once you're out of healing items and you can't use them anymore, this becomes irrelevant, you know? So it doesn't benefit anybody, and like her as a whole doesn't benefit any characters, and I hate it for her. They really did her dirty. I wish she would get some sort of rework down the line. It would be nice to give her, like, at least I understand characters that have niche abilities or niche comps that allow you to put them into certain teams, but she quite literally cannot be put anywhere, and that's the biggest downfall for her. That's why she's such a low-rated character. You don't need her for anything. She's not useful in any kind of content, so it just really, really sucks. But that's it for Ellie. I don't want to go in too hard anymore. I'm over it because I hated it in JP and I hate it now for global. That's why this banner is just not worth your time, guys, overall. Don't pull for these characters. Try to get them for free if you can. It'll probably come around again later, maybe on a rerun. I don't think it's happened yet in JP, but maybe down the line we'll get it again. I don't know. So if you want it for collection purposes, maybe you'll get them on a free pull. But don't waste your gems on it, guys, whatsoever. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got all the info that you necessarily needed. If I missed out on something, or if you have any other questions or concerns about the event, characters overall, or anything down the line that's to come, definitely feel free to put it down in the comments, and I'll do my best to make sure I respond. As well as, hit me up in Discord. We have a Discord section on the channel as well, specifically for Atelier Resleriana. If you have any questions or concerns about the game, I have a plethora of knowledge as someone that's been playing the JP side of the game as well too, so definitely some knowledge and some resources available to you guys in that channel as well. And with that, make sure you guys like, comment on the video as well down below, and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep on seeing some more Atelier Resleriana content from me. And I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys take care.